Welcome to Unprofessional Therapy. I am one of your hosts, Michael.
I'm the other one, Brad.
And welcome to Unprofessional Therapy. No degrees, just decades. So we got a couple of topics for today. Mine is the fact that are you adapting? And that's where we'll go with that. But first, what do we got?
I want to talk about something we talked about a little bit in the last video, and it's what your intent is and what the perception is on the other side of that. What
Is there
what is your
specific
intent?
is there specifics to go with that, or is that kind of just a general observation thing?
It was I had a friend of mine who kind of put this out there. And he made it aware of me unknowingly. Again, same friend that does a lot of things unknowingly in my head. He's good about that.
Okay.
So he was talking to his son. His son is in his 20s, and his son's got a relationship. Blah blah. They're moving in together. They get a new apartment. Da 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 da. And so my friend is like, "Oh, well, why don't you just give me and your mom the keys to your apartment so we can like get stuff ready for you?" So and how do you perceive that? Because I'll tell you what I knew his intent immediately because I know him. But how, as a 20-something-year-old man who's in a new not new, they've been together a while, moving into a new apartment, what is your...
That is 100% intrusive, and you are violating my space. And no, you cannot have a... Oh my God. Oh, no, 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 no. 20-something me, there's no freaking way I'm giving anybody, which is ironic because the place where I lived in my 20-something, like there were 10 different keys out there, but that was another. They were all people my age. I would not have given that to anybody that was in a position of authority or anything of that nature.
Right. And that is pretty much what the perception was on his son's behalf. And my friend didn't understand it. Now, his wife, and this is where his wife chimed in, because I was on speakerphone, and she was chiming in, and she said the same thing pretty much you did, and he's like, I don't get. It's like, and I told her, I said, you're not wrong. Telling his wife, I said, you're not wrong, and I can totally get it, and I agree with you, but let me tell you what he intended, because he has altruistic intentions.
Okay.
He's not trying to invade. He's trying to help. He's
Sure.
always been that guy. He always wants to help. And that's his intention. He's the guy that gives me ideas of things that I should be doing. Well, those are things I don't want to do. But his intentions are always good. And if you don't know him, you're like, he's quite invasive.
Mm.
And
my skin crawls just a little bit.
Yeah, he can come across that way. And so it just brought it back to my head when we had that conversation. It was it was less than a week ago. And then I watched our video because I was watching because you told me last night about it. I'm like, oh, I totally forgot about this. Looked through it, and near the end, we talked about intents and perception because it came back to my head. And what is something that you intended one way and easily was perceived completely opposite or completely different, or not, in a way you didn't even expect? Give me any example you have.
I don't have any, because I don't feel that I do, because I feel I am overly cautious. So I think it's the opposite. I think that intent and perception. Oh, okay. Wow, my head's bouncing all over. This is the problem without scripting this out ahead of time. It's off the top of our head, so it can be a rocky road there. What was your question again? I didn't forget it exactly, but I want to answer it specifically.
Give me an example of in your life where your intent was one thing, but the perception was possibly something completely you didn't expect, or different, or opposite.
Wow, I think there's been several of those. I do think I'm cautious in that, and I don't generally do that. I'm going to sound kind of slimy, but I feel like a lot of my things are the opposite way. I think I'm presenting one way and feeling a different way, and that's what springs to my mind. talking two different things here, but let me go back to very early in childhood. It was pointed out to me that I was outgoing and gregarious, and that is just so not who I am. So I presented that one way, but my
Your
intent
intent was to be shy and quiet.
keep things separate or whatever. And that's when I first really understood that there is such a tremendous difference in everyday life. And so, because that happened to me at an early age, I am often careful about things that I say and making sure that they're correct. In personal matters and stuff, that when I let the guard down, when I talk to people, that's maybe when things, and that's the problem, because like that hurts even worse, or can be more intense, more damaging, more, I don't know what the words I'm looking for here are, but
I don't really know either. I'm trying to figure it out.
okay. So in personal relationships,
Well, there's your example. Your intent is to show something and nobody's understanding.
And somebody out there understands. I know somebody's getting it, but
some crazy person in a room locked up. What?
In a personal relationship, that's when things become more intense, more problematic. When I have those things on the street, when I have those issues on the street, who the heck cares? They're a single serving friend. This isn't going to matter.
Right.
In general. In business, that might be something else.
But in that way, I can tell you your intent and your perception is a little bit different, because your intent is just to, okay, I'm done. But their perception is he's a jerk. He's so closed off. He's not that open. He's so.
But people have said the opposite. You know what I mean? They're like, oh, well, you're so friendly. You're so whatever. And it's like,
so you're good at hiding it. Okay.
That's not me. But yeah, I get what you're saying and stuff. I cannot think of, I try not to have misunderstandings with people. But often it does happen. I don't know.
Well, and maybe this conversation will open your mind to seeing what it could be. Like, okay, even though you are very cautious, doesn't stop it from happening, because people are their own, they're the conglomeration of their own experiences. And there's, like we were talking in the last video, we don't know what those experiences are. We can't know. There's no way, because we are not, I was going to say psychopathic. Telepathic.
Speak for yourself. Telepathic.
Not telepathic, maybe a little psycho, but okay. So, it's like that perception thing. It's like, let's think of it this way. You're walking down the street, and this is something I was thinking of while you were talking. And we're told not to do this. Don't judge people by the cover. Don't judge a book by the cover. Right. But we all do it.
Absolutely, 100%.
I was watching a TV show today with my wife, and instantly I was like, I don't like this guy. He hadn't said two words. And the thing, he's on screen for like a second. I don't like this guy. And so we had that. So let's go to, what do you think some people perceive you as you're just walking down the street? I can actually give you an example you told me a couple weeks ago.
Well, you probably should then, because again, this is going to sound bad.
Your
I don't
story
really care what they're thinking of me.
I know you don't care. I mean, and I don't either.
I don't spend a lot of energy. I don't spend a lot of energy on that necessarily, but I do. I don't know. I haven't taken an inventory lately.
I don't either. And it just came to my head. But here's your story. Hang on. The story you told a couple episodes ago. You and your wife were at the store. She was loading cases of water.
Yes.
And you heard somebody in the background saying, "Why doesn't he do that?" And your wife turns around and says, "Because he's disabled and can't lift more than 5 pounds."
Right.
Oh, like the perception.
Duh.
Yeah, they judged you immediately, based on you're making your wife do the work. Like, you must be some kind of jerk. And no,
even the fact that I use a cane when I'm out. Yes, I guess people are judging me and looking at me and going, well,
Yeah.
he seems to be getting around okay. Does he really need? Yeah, there's probably
Yeah.
lots of judging. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Okay.
there's the whole there, and see, don't even think negative thoughts. Somebody could go, damn, you know. There's other women out there to be like, oh yeah, maybe some guys out there are like, oh man, he's sexy. Yeah.
That doesn't happen to me often, and when it does, it baffles the heck out of me. One
It's
quick
same
example:
here.
I worked as a pharmacy tech, but I did deliveries, and
Mhm.
somebody came into the pharmacy later on, and she looked at me. She's like, "Oh, you must be one of the guys that came and made a delivery at the house today." And she's like, and I'm like, yeah. She said there was, whoever it was her daughter or somebody said like, oh, he said it was a cute guy and whatever. And I'm like, clearly she's not talking about me. She's talking about my partner. She's talking about this young guy. I have no idea what you're talking about. And she's like, no, it was you. And I'm like, no, you're mistaken. I was
You're
with
wrong.
this young gentleman here.
Thank
And
you.
she's like, no, she said you look like Walter White. And I'm like, oh, that's me. If you've seen Breaking Bad, I had the goatee, I had everything. And it's like, oh,
Oh,
she has a type, and I guess I was it.
yeah,
So
yeah, and that's the thing. You can be the type. So the perception you simply can't know. Positive, negative, neutral. You can't know, and you have to. And I guess we're already used to doing this. We just kind of shut it off. We don't care.
right, right.
That's part of the mantra. Back in maybe in my college days, I cared a little bit more about
How,
how people
how you
perceive
present.
me, and then I go look at pictures of me in my college days. I'm like, oh my god, I perceive me as just a big douchebag.
If it helps, I still think of you that way. Uh, so I want to circle back around to this though
Okay,
with the example
okay,
of your friend that you're talking about. So
yeah, 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 yeah.
before we close with this, what can you do to change those perceptions, or how much? What's your advice on that? Should your
Don't
friend
worry
have?
about it. Don't even care. Be you. You be you, man. As long as you're not harming anybody, yourself, or anything, just everything we talked about before. You don't worry about it.
But
Don't.
I'm wondering, should this guy have approached his son differently, or should he have just been cognizant of how he was presenting himself
I
and
don't think he
clarified
can.
it?
I don't think he has it in him to think about things. He doesn't have a filter as much about that type of thing.
Wait, you said
Um,
as much. That implies you have a filter. I don't see
I
that
don't. I don't have a no. I meant as much as people should have.
as people.
Um,
Okay, gotcha.
he does have a filter, but
It's a little
the
slow to
filter's
kick
kind of
in.
dirty. The filter's dirty, and it lets a lot of no. Filter's very clean, and it lets everything through a lot
Ah,
through.
okay.
Um, so however you want to look at it, but his filter doesn't function as well as it should. My filter, when I'm recording, works mostly well. Offline, as you know, my filter doesn't work very well.
It's how we're presenting ourselves, right? Who knows how
Yeah.
they're perceiving our intent.
Well, I don't want
Um,
to be perceived as a creepy old man. That's the one thing. That's the one thing that I'm most cognitive of is and I don't know why. I don't feel that I am. I don't think I'm a creepy old man. I'm
well,
sure there's people that have thought me of that just by whatever, because they have a certain life experience that makes the person who looks like me be the creepy old man.
I think I think I'm like coming up with like half a dozen other things to discuss
Oh,
in
sorry.
various episodes moving forward here.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so I mean I think that's it. And I think another thing, I'm gonna sum it up by saying I think self-reflection is
Always.
is always the best thing that you can do. Think about
Mhm.
yourself, think about other people. Even if you're not going to change it, maybe that's going to help your communication better if you do maybe take a second and think
Mhm.
about like, okay, what am I presenting myself as, and therefore um
Yeah,
why is the person responding in this way?
yeah, and in an important or time of whatever an interaction, um, put your filter on. Make sure you're the way people perceive you is as close as your intent is possible. You know, and when you're around friends, good friends, they
Yeah.
should know your intent.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Um, so this kind of ties in, but it's very loose.
It is.
My question is, are you adapting or not adapting? Um,
I
yeah,
have.
you've made some huge changes and therefore had to adapt.
Yes.
Let's talk just a little bit about that. I know this is my topic, but tell me about your adapting process. Do you have
And are
one?
you talking about you're not talking about intent and purposes now. You're talking or perception, you're talking about life.
Yeah, I'm talking about life, and I'm actually specifically included in that is technology
Oh,
and
geez.
things. Yeah, so
Oh,
there's a topic for us.
what do I know about technology?
Not much is what I'm finding
I
out.
mean, I only have like 3 screens in my face. I have a Linux computer, a Windows computer, another Windows computer, and a Windows laptop, and that's a Linux laptop that doesn't wanna charge.
I-
Um,
So that and in personal relationships and so on, though. What about talk to me about
w
adapting?
with a dab and this goes back to something we said in a few episodes. You got to keep your mind open. You have to because let's jumping to even AI. You know, there's so many people, and rightfully so, think that AI is just a horrible thing. Um, there's a lot of bad things about AI, but there's a lot of good things about AI. And when they figure out how to do AI without sucking all the water and power off the planet, it will be better. I don't know if that's going to happen. But you have to adapt because in my field specifically, programming,
Mhm.
AI has, and people will argue this in their studies left and right that will say both ways. But for me, AI has increased my productivity for the simple fact that 99% of the projects I've played with in the last 2 years would never have been started in the first place.
I think that's a wonderful point to make. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people choose things to argue about and don't fully think them through and choose a broad statement to make about these things. They jump on this bandwagon, but they don't
Clickbait.
actually, for sure. And then they'll retreat to this position where it's like, well, I didn't mean that. What I meant was this one defendable position, but they make these broad sweeping statements. Um, Adapting though, also I'm thinking in relationships, and this whole thought process or experiment or whatever started with me thinking about what I lose out in or have lost out on because I didn't adapt to things sooner. Eventually, there's an inevitability to certain things. And if I would have just adapted to them earlier, accepted them, or moved in that direction, um, things would have gone so much smoother, better, or whatever. Now, I'm not talking about in life specifically because I definitely believe that we have all arrived where we're at for a reason. Obviously,
Mhm.
things have led us in this direction, um, and that's one thing. But I do think that things could have been smoother and less stressful. Is any of that making sense, or is am I
Oh,
going off into the weeds again?
that makes a ton of sense to me.
Okay, good,
with
good.
with the life experiences I've had.
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
definitely had to adapt to lots of different things from just all through your life, and so did I. And I think life is a journey. That's something else too that sounds cliche, but I think if we think about it
It is
and look
100%
at it,
true.
yeah,
You know,
it
there's a I forgot what I was gonna say, but in my life, um, everything that was well, almost everything that was catastrophically bad
hmm
was caused by me.
okay,
I was the root cause.
Okay.
Obviously, some things were not because they were, nature.
Right.
But losing my house, well, that's because I didn't go out and get a good enough job. I didn't go out and try to get more customers because I was lazy at that time. I paid the price by not having a house to live in for a year or two,
Right.
or any place. I had
Yeah.
just couch. So, ramification. When I talk about, and I've said this even before then. I've been saying this since I was in my 20s, that someone says you never, or you don't have a choice, you have to do this. You always have a choice. You have to live with the consequences.
Even not
And
making a
that's
choice is a
why
choice.
and that's why I never blamed other people for my situation. I've never blamed, oh, they did because it was my fault. I did it, you know. And I have many stories that I'm not going to tell that it's my fault, and I have to, it's my whatever. I have to sit. Oh, it's my bed. I have to lie in it.
There you go.
You
Okay.
know,
So
I do.
so let me ask in a general sense though, are there any situations that you could think of where if you had adapted to something that would have changed any of those situations?
Yeah,
Or
I think if I would have adapted better to being able to market my company 30, 25 years ago,
Mhm.
I would not be where I'm at now. My company
Okay.
would have grown. I would,
Okay.
because I had customers, and I had people who, if I would have adapted to the advancement of technology and kept up and da 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 da, I would have survived that, and I would be somewhere completely different today.
What about in relationships? Are there things or um and again, I'm not trying to be nosy or not trying to pick
I
anything
know.
out or whatever,
You
but
know
just
my story.
I know much of it.
Mhm.
But what are there things or can you look at things that you could have adapted to sooner that would have changed those? And it's hard to say that now because if you're happy where you're at now or you're working towards that, none of the other stuff matters. So
Exactly.
I'm not exactly thinking necessarily romantic relationship, but
Yeah.
maybe friendships, maybe other things.
That is a tangled web beyond belief from in my life because of the way my life rolled out. And there are many people. I'm not going into this.
Okay.
There and you probably know where I'm not going. Um, we'll just say that I have some regrets from my younger self that were problems caused by me because I didn't adapt well to the situation because I didn't know how to adapt back then.
So
Um,
I'm gonna give you permission to be okay with that. Then you just said it
mhm.
right there. You didn't know how to adapt to it, so therefore, and so I
Well,
guess my point is keep your eyes open for things where you could be adapting.
yeah.
Um, yeah, I'm not one of those people that's going to say yes to everything.
Well, and
Um,
see, here's the thing. I can't be okay with what happened. I can't because it affected someone else far deeper and in a negative way due to my negligence is a good word
okay,
ish.
okay, okay,
And I will never be good with that. I have to
okay.
be, I have to, what's the word? I have to deal with it. But it's,
Not to be
I
religious, but I was going to say it's your cross to bear.
there you go.
Yeah,
It is my cross to bear.
yeah.
And, without going any deeper, I'm sure there's people, oh my God, what happened? It's none of your business in the public way.
Then why are you
No
sticking your
offense.
fist out on the internet? No,
Yeah.
I get that, but it's like I guess my thought process is basically like I said, the whole thought experiment is the idea that like how much more space could I free up in my mind if I didn't resist things?
A
I think
lot.
that's it. And
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
and
I
I'm
guess
not saying
I went too far.
don't be open with everything necessarily, but at
Mhm.
least examine it.
Mhm.
Wow, we're back to self-examination. We're back to examining everything. I guess that's what we do here. We turn things over and look at them, try to look at them from different angles. Uh,
Right. And we talk about the different situations you can do those in.
yeah, for sure.
So
And
that's what is something that you have adapted to? Give me a specific, because I gave a couple specifics. Something that you've had to adapt to. I mean, you moved to LA, but I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about something I don't know about,
something you don't know about.
or that I barely know about.
Wow. Things that I've had to adapt to. Put on the spot like that, and not that you're putting me on the spot, but just off the top of my head without preparation. I can't think of anything because I want to say everything.
Nevada.
Well, I've had to adapt to the heat. That's one thing.
Yeah.
But that's easy because you just stay inside and every building here has air conditioning. So who the heck cares? Yes, it's going to be 110 today, but you know what? I'm not going out in that heat. Not till later. Adapting
I
though.
have a different one I want you to talk about. I want you to
Yeah.
talk about Nevada
Nevada?
or Northern
What?
California.
Oh, Northern California.
Which I forget where that was. So you
Oh,
anyway.
Chilkoot? The
Yeah.
oh my gosh, the city that I moved to that had 108 people in it. That when we moved in, it was still 108. They didn't have to change the sign because 2 people moved out, and we moved into their house, so it was still 108 people. That was wow. That owning a house was something I had to adapt to. Just living in a rural environment, which was 30 miles outside of Reno. So I mean, we were outside of the city, but still, we could travel there or whatever. That was not actually as hard to adapt to as considering how I grew up. I grew up
Yeah.
in Michigan. I grew up in a rural area. I grew up 7
Yeah.
miles outside the city. I was in the backwoods with like no other houses around us for a very long time until I wasn't completely sheltered. But it's interesting that these patterns seem to repeat for me. I brought this up before and it stuck out to other people too, that being raised as a Jehovah's Witness also isolated me. I had a community, but I was still isolated from the rest of people. And that seems to be a theme throughout my life of both isolation and integration. That brings it around to intent.
Intense and perception.
Intent and perception also, because there were, which I probably should have mentioned this earlier, which was that was a very, very different perception of who I was, being raised as a very religious person or seemingly religious, where I'm not that religious. I mean, I'm deeply religious, but not in an organized sense.
Right.
I'm agnostic, but not. Don't go for organized religion. Anyhow, now we're going some other roads that
we don't want to go down those roads.
I'm not prepared to go down at this point. Anyhow, not today. But if anybody hung out to the end of this episode, I have to say thank you very much. We are getting some more views, which is greatly appreciated. So I want to encourage that if you get anything out of these talks, these ramblings, whatever they are, be sure to share this with somebody else. I think that's probably the most important thing that you could do.
Maybe someday we'll be able to monetize because we're at 8 subscribers and holding for quite some time. I'm thinking at this rate, I think we'll be about 190 when we can monetize.
If we're still doing this at 190, I guarantee more people will be watching because it'll be a death
We'd be the oldest man on the internet.
Like, oh, is he going to bite it this time? Is he gonna...
waiting for some...
horrible. There's that filter that should have probably kicked in. Anyhow,
why?
A huge, tremendous thank you to all of those that do take the time to like, comment, subscribe, do all the YouTube things. I've been Michael.
I've been Brad.
And we thank you for watching Unprofessional Therapy. No degrees, just decades.
Bye.
Bye.